And here at home now, it's the ITV News.
The supermarket shooting suspect appears in court in the United States charged with murder. 18-year-old Peyton Gendron is accused of killing 10 people in what President Biden has called a racially motivated act of white supremacy. As visuals are held for the victims, we'll have the latest from the scene. Also on the programme. Lining up to celebrate the Queen, horses, bands and Hollywood royalty get ready for tonight's Platinum Jubilee party. Chelsea women make it a double in a nail-biting FA Cup final, and Ukraine feels the breadth of Europe's support at the Eurovision.
This is ITV News with Romilly Weeks.
Good evening. Vigils have been held for the 10 people shot dead in a racist attack in the United States. The white teenage gunman travelled hundreds of miles to a predominantly African-American area of Buffalo, New York, where he live-streamed his attack. Of the 13 people he shot, 11 were black. 18-year-old Peyton Gendron has been charged with first-degree murder. President Biden said tonight there was more to do to address the hate that remains a stain on the soul of America. Our correspondent Robert Moore reports from the scene.
Today, the anguish of this city is clear to see. Activists walking the streets of the neighbourhood, expressing their pain.
We are hurt. We are mourning.
There was also defiance and a declaration that this act of madness will not destroy Buffalo.
This is where justice lives, and this is where racism ends. You picked the wrong city, you picked the wrong community.
The 18-year-old suspect, Peyton Gendron, had driven more than 200 miles to launch the atrocity, deliberately targeting a neighbourhood that he knew to be predominantly African-American.
Good morning, Council. Good afternoon.
He has already appeared in court, subdued, wearing a mask, and in jail-issued paper clothing.
We remanded about there.
He pleaded not guilty to charges of first-degree murder. The attack was aimed at this supermarket, the gunman shooting victims both outside the front doors and then stalking the aisles for additional victims. Police have described it as a scene out of a horror movie.
He was very heavily armed. He had tactical gear. He had a tactical helmet on. He had a camera that he was live streaming what he was doing. Walked into the store and began engaging customers inside the store. He worked his way back towards the front of the store. Buffalo police immediately respond, engage the suspect in the vestibule of the store, and at that point the suspect put the gun to his own neck. Buffalo police personnel, 2 patrol officers, talked the suspect into dropping the gun.
Gendron's motives are known because he listed them in extraordinary detail in a hate-filled manifesto. He also live-streamed the attack on Twitch, a video sharing platform. It's left behind not just shock, but a sense of fear.
It's just too much. I just can't. I'm trying to bear with it. It's just too much. You can't even go to the damn store in peace. It's so crazy.
It just hurts. Why somebody would do that.
This level of gun violence is nothing new, but combined with a white supremacist ideology and the gunman's attempt to amplify his actions across social media, and it represents another deeply disturbing insight into America's far-right extremism.
Well, one eyewitness I spoke to just a few moments ago said in this community there is not just grief, there is anger. She said she was praying there would not be acts of retaliation. President Biden has also addressed the tragedy that happened behind me here. He called it an act of white nationalist terrorism, saying it was abhorrent to the fabric of the nation. Powerful words, but several people here have said their next stop is the gun store in order to protect themselves.
Robert Moore in Buffalo, thank you. The government's threat to rewrite parts of the Brexit deal it signed with the EU could undermine peace in Northern Ireland, it was warned today. In some of the strongest words yet, the Irish Foreign Affairs Minister says Boris Johnson and his ministers are grandstanding over the issue. Well, David Wood is with me now. David, the Irish government doing little to hide its anger over this.
No, I think you're right. And it marks the start of a big Brexit week with the deadlock over the Northern Ireland Protocol the main discussion. This, in effect, puts a trade barrier down the Irish Sea between Northern Ireland and GB. Unionists, the DUP, hate it, and they're refusing to restart power sharing and join the newly elected Northern Ireland Assembly until it's sorted. That's why Boris Johnson will go to Belfast tomorrow for talks, and there are many suggestions that the UK will try and change the Brexit deal. Today, though, comes the warning from Ireland's Foreign Minister that if the UK does that alone, it'll undermine the peace process.
That's what we need to focus on doing together, as opposed to the British government acting on its own, illegally, in a way that doesn't reflect majority opinion in Northern Ireland, and perhaps most importantly, sends a message to the world that this British government, when it suits them, will set aside international law.
Now, in response, the UK government says there are clauses within the Brexit deal that means if the UK government isn't happy and thinks the peace process is being undermined, then it can make changes on its own. But this will be a tough diplomatic dance for Boris Johnson this week. Tough talk then going into the week. There are questions, though. Can a compromise be made? Most sides seem to agree one can. The far tougher question is whether they'll all be able to agree on the same compromise.
Right. Thank you, David. Finland has formally confirmed it intends to join NATO in an historic change of approach triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The announcement was made by the Finnish President and Prime Minister in Helsinki. NATO, the defensive military alliance, has indicated it could make a quick decision. Sweden is expected to formally apply too. Some of our biggest showbiz stars, among them Hollywood royalty, Dame Helen Mirren and Tom Cruise included, will be entertaining our royalty, the Queen, tonight. The Jubilee extravaganza is at Windsor, where our royal editor, Chris Shipp, of course, is this evening. Chris, it sounds like quite a night.
Well, Romilly, you know, most of the main events to celebrate the Platinum Jubilee are happening in that long bank holiday weekend in June. But in terms of set-piece events, actually it kicks off here in Windsor tonight. A 3-hour-long show for the Queen here in Windsor. The organisers tell me they do expect her to appear, but as with everything with the Queen now, we won't know for sure that she'll be here until she actually turns up. That's due live on ITV, incidentally, sometime after 8 o'clock this evening. There's a lot in her favour, of course, for coming here. This is Windsor, it's in her own backyard, and, of course, it involves horses. And we saw the household cavalry warming up for the event earlier. There are also performances from equine performances from as far afield as Azerbaijan. And in terms of A-listers, well, not bad, really. Tom Cruise, Helen Mirren, and, of course, the singer Catherine Jenkins, who we spoke to earlier. And despite performing for the Queen many times before, she told me it never gets any easier.
I've been lucky enough to be invited to sing for Her Majesty quite a few times. You never get used to it. Right. If anybody says they do, I don't believe them.
And it doesn't get any easier, no?
It doesn't get easier. I think the more I've performed for her over the years, I've sort of, you know, grown to admire her even more, so it actually gets harder.
And there'll be a poignant moment tonight when Lady Louise, the Queen's granddaughter, rides the carriage and with the horses that were bequeathed to her by her grandfather, the Duke of Edinburgh. That, I think, for the Queen will be a very emotional moment.
Chris, thank you. And you can watch the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebration on ITV and STV from 8 tonight. On to football, and Chelsea lifted their second trophy in a week as they triumphed over Man City in the Women's FA Cup final. The Women's Super League winners were taken to extra time before battling to victory in a 5-goal thriller. Here's Chris Scudder.
A message of hope for peace in Ukraine before sporting hostilities between the teams who have dominated the Cup in recent seasons. And they delivered a cup final classic.
Deep cross in.
Sam Kerr's early goal for Chelsea, wiped out by a moment of magic from City's Lauren Hemp. 1-1, and the goals just kept getting better in front of a record Women's Cup final crowd. It looked like Chelsea had done it until 2 minutes from time. Hayley Rasso taking it to extra time. 1 moment of good fortune then settled the final. Sam Kerr's second goal with the help of a deflection.
Sends the keeper the wrong way.
But they all count for overjoyed Chelsea boss Emma Hayes. And what a time for her victorious team.
Chelsea!
A 4th FA Cup success. The Super League title last week, and now a League and Cup double. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
There was drama too in the Premier League title race where Manchester City missed a chance to all but wrap up the title. City fought back from 2-0 down at West Ham, then had a late penalty to win the match, only for Riyad Mahrez to miss. It finished 2-2. And finally, it's fair to say Ukraine has needed anything to smile about, and its stunning Eurovision win might have done a little to lift the country's spirits. Sam Ryder, the UK's entry, came second, as Hannah Miller reports from Turin.
It was a victory as powerful as it was predictable. As Ukraine's Kalush Orchestra swept the board in Eurovision's public vote, there were tears and cheers, not least from this Ukrainian commentator watching in a bomb shelter. This year's Eurovision had become so much more than a music contest, as the band's frontman made clear.
Any victory is very meaningful for Ukraine these days, and lately Ukrainian culture has been attacked. Attempts were made to attack Ukrainian culture, and we are to prove that Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian music are alive, and they have their own very beautiful and very special signature.
For the UK, spaceman Sam Ryder put on a performance that will surely rocket boost his career, taking the UK from 0 to hero with a second-place finish, the country's best result in 20 years.
The tension in here has been absolutely unbelievable, but some might say this result is the best of both worlds.
I want to show support for Ukraine. I'm also incredibly proud that the UK came second after getting 0 points last year.
Sam, he was incredible. We're so proud of him. He couldn't have done any better.
As Kalush Orchestra released this new music video showing them among the rubble of Ukraine, their president vowed one day to host the contest in Mariupol. Many hope their country's triumph at Eurovision can be replicated in war as well. Hannah Miller, ITV News, Turin.
And that is it for now. But I am back with the late news at 10:45. Until then, have a very good evening.